Chevron is one of the world's largest multinational companies and it stands to make billions of dollars mining Australian natural gas. But this corporate titan has a bad reputation of paying very little in Australian tax. Today, the company's bosses were called to account by a Senate inquiry. They claim to follow the letter, the spirit and the intent of the law, but their critics remain unconvinced. Hayden Cooper reports.
They're some of the biggest investment projects Australia has ever seen in a market that's vital to the nation's economy. LNG and the gas fields at Gorgon and Wheatstone in WA are gearing up. But how much of the profit from this massive resource will be returned to the taxpayer?
LNG is about to overtake iron ore as Australia's largest export. It is vital that we get the tax settings right now.
Gorgon is one of the world's largest natural gas projects.
Chevron is one of the heavyweights in the LNG world, the major shareholder and operators of the $70 billion Gorgon project due to open next year and the $40 billion Wheatstone gas field. But this company's record in paying tax is now under scrutiny from Australian senators.
This is a rort. This has always been a rort and it continues to be a rort. In Chevron, we have the godfather of Australian tax minimisation and, dare I say it, tax avoidance.
Rarely do Chevron's senior managers speak publicly on this issue, but today they did, fronting up to the Senate inquiry on tax avoidance.
And you've flown out for this inquiry?
I have. We take our tax obligations seriously, and that's why I'm here.
It wasn't long before Chevron's two favoured tax havens were raised. The state of Delaware in the US, where corporate secrecy is protected and tax loopholes are plentiful.
How many companies and subsidiary companies does Chevron have registered in Delaware?
In Delaware? I don't know exactly. I think it's about 200.
And then there's Bermuda.
In Bermuda, I think we have about the same.
Chevron Australia sends money to a Bermuda-based company for some of its transport costs.
Have you been to Bermuda?
I have not been to Bermuda and I don't know why that would be relevant.
But it's the arrangement with Delaware that's of greatest interest to this committee, the tax office and others who are watching.
We know they have avoided a certain amount of tax. So we know at least they haven't paid $350 million as they should have, and potentially a lot more than that.
That figure comes from the federal court. Only last month it ruled against Chevron, ordering it to pay almost $300 million in back taxes. At issue is the company's loan structure that finances the large Australian gas projects. It works like this. In Delaware, Chevron USA takes out a $2.5 billion loan at an average interest rate of 2%. It then loans that money to Chevron Australia, but charges 9% interest. The revenue and profit here is then used to pay back the loan, thereby reducing the tax bill in Australia.
Senator Back has got a question.
The court ruled that the company should pay tax on the interest charged.
Essentially, it was the problem was with interest rate not being at an arm's length or a commercial interest rate.
Chevron is appealing.
This is a case where Chevron and ATO simply disagree on how the law applies. It is important to note Chevron Australia did not engage in any illegal activity or tax avoidance.
The Australian Tax Office is now auditing Chevron over a second loan deal worth billions more.
If that goes the same way as their recent ruling, then you could be looking at something over $3 billion worth of taxes that need to be paid by Chevron.
Chevron's new major gas projects don't begin producing until at least next year. And on the tax front, that is the company's defence. It says it's not making a profit.
We have not received $1 of revenue from either the Gorgon or the Wheatstone projects.
Once the money does roll in, this LNG giant promises to be a good corporate citizen.
But when we do get them up and they do plateau, These projects will be generating significant income for Australia. And I mentioned in my opening comments, approaching $350 billion of revenue. You know, $338 or $350 billion in revenue will buy a lot of hospitals. It will purchase a lot of schools.
Sceptical senators won't hold their breath.
Look, I'd like to take them at their word, but past behaviour by Chevron fill me with no confidence. No confidence. This is Australia's most successful tax minimiser. This is a firm that has a business model based around paying as little international tax as possible. So when they say, we'll pay it later, I say, prove it.